Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, I'm going to talk about why linear progression needs to die. Before I get into that topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas I turn into videos just like this. All right, so I know it's clickbaity to make videos about something should die, right? But in this case, it's very, very accurate. For those of you that have followed this channel for a long time, you know I've always been against linear progression, random and arbitrary progression schemes. But I'm going to show you in this video, using basically 2 points, why I feel linear progression needs to die. Now, linear progression is basically the progression mechanism of programs like strong lifts, where you get in the gym, you start with an empty bar, whatever you start with, that doesn't matter. But then you're adding 5-10 pounds to a lift week in and week out, and that's how you progress. So when we're looking at muscle building, and this is what we're talking about in this video, and you might say, hey, those are strength programs, some of those are strength programs. You need to understand, for the average lifter watching this channel, strength and muscle building are the same thing. They're the same thing. If you're going to get strong as a beginner, you need to build a muscle base. They're not separate things. So anyone that's putting together a strength program that doesn't have that power building, muscle building component is a fool, because they do not understand how to build strength over the long term. Now, I'm not saying you need to turn a strength program into a pure bodybuilding program. What I am saying is that a strength program also needs to have an eye on muscle. And that's what I do on this channel. I call it power building. I called it power building before anybody really used power building. And that's what I'm calling it today. Building as much strength and muscle as possible. So we'll set the table with that. Now, linear progression. Why do I feel it needs to die? Number one is it's limiting. It's limiting. You can only run it for so long, and you're going to hit a hard wall. And then what? You're going to have to move on to something else. And it's not going to be the same for each lift. I mean, if you start out with, let's say, bench at 95 for 5, you're going to run into a wall really, really quickly, maybe even within 2 months. It has a very limited use. It's not very effective for a long period of time. If you're going to run linear progression, hey, you can run it for a month or two, but you're going to get slapped back at really, really quickly. So it is a very limiting progression scheme. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, and why there are other methods that are better, that can be sustained. And that's really what this is about. That's what this is really about, is there are better methods, much better methods, that can be sustained, that really make linear progression a silly, silly concept. Number two, it's arbitrary, okay? And here's what I mean. You need to understand that. In the modern landscape of hypertrophy or muscle building, we know that hard work is key. Excuse me. We also know that generally the deeper into a set you push things, like you push things closer to failure. And I've talked about on this channel, stopping a set when you feel like you might fail on the next rep, or when you feel like your form's going to break down, so you don't get injured. You're practicing safe sets, and you're pushing a set for as many quality reps as possible. You're going to get the most out of that set. So you are better off from a hypertrophy standpoint of doing 2 sets close to that. And that's what my rep goal system basically was about in my book, Massive Iron, right? The rep goal system, pushing sets for as many reps as possible. You're better off doing that, because you know you're getting the most out of a set, not just from a rep and progression standpoint, because you're going to naturally progress in weight safely, but also from a scientific standpoint, because we know the deeper into a set you get, the more muscle fibers you're recruiting and the higher quality of a set it is. So this is a standard based on science. It's based on what we understand about hypertrophy, okay? Whereas a linear progression approach is arbitrary. You're just kind of adding weight each week. Sets aren't maximized, so therefore it's not generally maximized for hypertrophy or the muscle building process. You're going to say, well, aren't we splitting hairs here? No, we're not splitting hairs. You are in the gym to get the most out of your training. Do you want to go with something arbitrary, like just going to the gym and add 5 pounds to the bar every week and then it's done soon? Or do you want to go into the gym and know that if you get the most out of your sets, that you're maximizing hypertrophy? This is a silly question because you know the answer to this. So some things come along in the muscle and strength building world and they dig their claws in, right? And they get a grip on the community. They grab the community by the neck, and so many people waste their time with them and they're not optimal. They really aren't the best way. In fact, linear progression is probably one of the worst ways you can train. Now, can it be effective? Yeah, anything can be effective if you work it hard. But it still needs to die because there are so many better options. So, linear progression, very limiting. You can only run it for a limited amount of time. And it's arbitrary. It's not about maximizing sets. It's about adding weight each week, and that also encourages you to add weight at the expense of form. So sustainable progress is, for my trainees, if you read my book, Massive Iron, way back in the day, I talked about maximizing sets, right? And now we understand from a scientific standpoint that that is valid. You look at guys like Paul Carter, my buddy Faz, who is on this channel, they'll tell you the same thing. Maximizing sets, pushing sets for as many quality reps as possible. We might have semantics discussions about what that means, but we all know there's value in that. Now that's sustainable, okay? Now you can start out as a beginner and maybe get your feet underneath you, and then maybe you're doing 2 sets of each exercise for maximum reps, or even 1 set, as most of my trainees do, most of my clients do, 1 set for maximum reps. Because at the end of the day, this is a new concept for most people. Most people that come to me, I get them to do 1 set, okay? If they wanted to do 2, after they've kind of established a track record, I'm okay with that as well. But this is sustainable. This is sustainable for a very long period of time. If somebody comes to me and I give, basically what I give them is 3 sets of, on their squats, bench, and deadlift, we're pushing all of those sets for maximum safe reps. So we're doing the big hitters for maximum safe reps. And for the extra work, we're generally doing the last set for max safe reps because it's really hard to sustain that with that kind of volume. So we're getting a good mix of volume and intensity and maximizing sets. But the point here is that it's sustainable for a very, very long period of time, and I'm saying years. So to recap, linear progression is one of the worst things you can waste your time on. It's ineffective, has a limited window, it's arbitrary from a muscle building standpoint, and it puts adding 5 pounds as at the forefront, at the front of what you're supposed to be doing that day, and you'll be worried more about getting your reps in with that weight than you are quality form. So guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.